In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the TX-NR3010 and a Dune HD B1 Blu-ray player and media streamer. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook the two units up together. So I'm going to connect an HDMI cable to the main out off to a display, and then I'm going to connect an HDMI lead from the Dune HD to the TX-NR3010. I'm going to use the input number 1 on the TX-3010, and then I'm going to actually connect the other end of the HDMI lead to the Dune HD. And that is essentially all we need to do to get the audio video signal from the Dune to the TX-NR3010. Now, what are we going to do for sources? I'm going to plug in a USB lead into the back of the unit. This will then be connected to a small drive, as I've got here, and that will enable me to play video files and music files directly from the drive to the DuneHD B1. Next up is an Ethernet lead. This will give me access to the World Wide Web, and it will also give me access to my internal network. So I've got all my bases covered now. I've got direct storage I can play from. I've also got networked accessibility from stored drives on computers around the house or other Dune HD Smart ones, wherever they may be. So apart from the power lead, we're all hooked up and ready to go. Let's move on to setting up the on-screen display. Setting up the 3010 with the Dune HD B1 is really simple. Because we've plugged it into a pre-assigned and pre-labeled input, all we need to do, go to the setup and just adjust some settings which are specific to that particular input. So we move down to source setup and press enter. Now the IntelliVolume option is there for differences in volume in different sources. And what I recommend to do is you find your quietest source and bring down all of the other sources to that volume. You can increase them, but be very, very careful. Even if you increase them too much, you can actually cause the Onkyo amplifier to shut down as a protection system because you're overloading the input section. So as a rule of thumb, find your quietest source and bring down all of the other sources to match that. So when you switch between sources, you don't get jumps in volume. Now the AV sync is also commonly known as the lip sync control, and what it enables you to do is actually match up the audio to the video. So in the bottom right hand corner you can see it says see picture, so you press the enter button and you'll actually be able to see the picture, and you could delay the audio until it matches up correctly. Now I've covered the name edit in previous videos, so I won't spend too much time on this. Basically, you can rename the label input that displays on the front display and on screen. Because we're using the TX-NR3010, we've got the ability to use the ISF settings within the picture adjust. Now this will allow us to actually calibrate the video image to industry standards on each individual input. Now the first thing I will say is I would actually recommend you get an ISF certified or THX video certified engineer to actually come in to make the calibrations for you, because they have the experience and the equipment to make sure it's as per industry standard. Alternatively, if you don't want to do that, you can get setup discs that will allow you to get at least a percentage of the way there. Now I've got the THX calibrator disc installed and running, and I've got my grey ramps up. Now I'm just actually going to show you the differences when I switch between ISF day, night, cinema, customs. You can see these patterns changing in colour. Now this particular one is very blue. Is that there's too much blue, or is there not enough red or green? So these are the things that a THX certified or ISF certified video engineer is going to know and be able to compensate for. Now that pretty much covers it as far as the setup goes for the Onkyo AVR. Now we're going to actually move on to the media streamer. So now we're powering up the Dune HD. It will take a moment until the OSD actually appears, and there we go. So the first thing we need to do is move across to the setup tab. This will allow us to set everything up for the video and the audio and networking, so we can actually start enjoying the device. So the first one we're looking for here is the video setup. So just using the nav pad on the remote control, move across to the particular button and press enter. The video connector is set to HDMI, and you can leave all of the other settings as is if you want to. You can make small changes if you have problems with HDMI, so you can go into the video mode and adjust the EDID, but you shouldn't need to. It should all automatically recognise the HDMI connection. The next thing we need to make sure is on the audio. So if we move down to the audio button and then press enter, we can actually go into this setup. Now you need to make sure that the output mode is set to original bitstream. This way it'll actually output the lossless high definition audio soundtracks, whether it be DTS or Dolby Digital. Do not select the PCM. Next up is the audio decoding mode. Now you need to make sure this is set to 7.1 to allow the maximum possible channels to be decoded and sent down the HDMI lead. And you need to make sure that the HDMI audio is actually enabled, otherwise you'll get no sound at all. Now the rest of the settings are actually more of a personal preference than anything else. I personally would switch the dynamic range control off and leave the rest, and then that's it. And we're done in the setup menu. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to load up the Dune HD with different types of media, and then we can run through them and see how they react. Playing media from a USB storage or a hard drive is really easy. You just navigate around using the nav buttons and the OK button, select the drive that you want, go into the menus, and in this case got a folder saying Dolby Showcase. I'm going to press select and go into that, which is then going to give me some more options of what's inside the folder. There's an ISO file there, and I'm just pressing play, and away we go. We're now actually watching a high def movie with high def sound, and I'm going to press the information button on the Onkyo amp, the TX-NR3010, and actually come up and give us the information. There we go, 7.1 coming in and outputting 7.2. And then I'm going to do the same again, but this time I'm going to select the DTS folder. Here we have another ISO. Going to press select, and then that particular disc will load up in the memory and start playing. And again, high definition 1080p picture along with the high definition lossless audio. I'm going to press the display button again on the 3010, and here we have it saying DTS HD Master Audio. Press the display button twice and it will actually give us the audio information, 7.1 in, 7.2 out. And then for playing music, it's exactly the same. You just navigate around till you get to your music and then press play. Network playback can be just as simple or as difficult as you want it to be. So I'm going to move up, hit enter in the network browser, and now I've got a selection between SMB or UPnP. Now depending on what computers you use will depend which path you want to take. I'm going to select the Windows way and go for the work group, and you can see here the mediators online and also my book by Western Digital, which is also a NAS drive with a DLNA server built in. So I'm going to go into there, going to move along to the public folder where I've got some program material and some music stored. Press enter, hit a connect. The speed at which it does this is directly related to how fast your network is. I'm now going to move into my videos folder where I've got some content stored. Press enter, and I'm greeted by some more content. So all I'm going to do, press enter, actually go into that folder. I've got a number of different files in an MKV format, so I'm just going to press play and then watch the video file. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video on the TX-NR3010 and the Dune HD media player. Take care, bye bye.